Hello everyone. In this video, we need to find what is the voltage across this C and voltage across this 3C, which is VC1 and VC2. And I am giving the input voltage of this waveform. First, till t equal to 0, input voltage is 1 volt. At t greater than 0 volt, the input voltage rises from 1 volt to 5 volt here. So I need to find what is the voltage less than 0, t less than 0, and t tends to infinity, and t equal to 0 plus. Okay, if I see what is the voltage at t less than 0, here we can see this is a DC voltage. So what will happen is this capacitor, I'm assuming this is a C1, this is C2. So these two capacitors will be open circuited, but there is a closed path here through resistors. The current will flow through from source to these resistors in this way. So that because these are the equal resistors, so this voltage division will be equal. So here we have 1 volt, so VC1 will be zero point 0.5 volt, and this will be zero point 0.5 volt. Okay, and if I see at t is equal to infinity, what will happen is again this two capacitors will get open circuited, and the current will flow in the same way. Because I am giving a 5 volt here at the t equal to infinity, the voltage across this C1 will be 2.5 volt and C2 will be 2.5 volt. This is 2.5 volt, and this is also 2.5 volt. But at what will happen at t is equal to 0 plus? If you see at t is equal to 0 plus, vc1 already has initial voltage. See, vc1 already has initial voltage of 0.5 volt, and vc2 is also having initial voltage of 0.5 volts. If I rewrite the circuit with initial voltages, this will look like this. So there is a voltage source and there are some resistors. Okay, so this is C1, this is C2, these are 0.5 volt, 0.5 volt. So when, but at t is equal to 0, there is a sudden change in voltage from 1 volt to 5 volt. There is a high frequency component here, the frequency is infinity. So what will happen is the capacitors will short circuited. So what will happen is the capacitors will get short circuited, and if I redraw the circuit, this will look like this. Sorry, so these capacitors will get short circuited, and if I simply redraw the circuit, so there is some 1 volt here, and there is some 5 volt here, and there is some C equivalent. Okay, so we can see the voltage difference is 4 volt. So the current will be proportional to 5 minus 4. So for example, if I write C equivalent, so C equivalent will be 5 volt minus 1 volt. 1 volt is the initial voltage, the total initial voltage across this capacitance. So if I write this VC1 at t is equal to 0, VC1 will be V into 3C divided by 4C, because C2 is 3C. Here 4C will be C plus 3C. So what we can see is this will be 5. Sorry, V is 4. Why? Because 4. Why? Because the change here is 4 volt only. So the effect VC equivalent equal to 4 volt. The capacitors are seeing suddenly at t equal to 0, only difference is 4 volt. That's why we need to take 4 volt only here. Divided by 4. CC get cancels, 4 it get cancels. This is 3 volt. So at t equal to 0, t is equal to 0 plus, what's happening is VC1 is charged to 3 volt, and VC2 will charge to some 2 volt. How I am telling 2 volt? Because at every point there should be a KVL should satisfy. Why? Because 5 volt is applying here, 3 volt means here 2 volt, and 3 volt will eventually discharge to 2.5 volt, and VC2 will reach to 2.5 volt. This is the RC time constant of this whole circuit. This will be same. So that's why in the finally VC1 VC2 will settle down to 2.5 volt only. But at t is equal to 0, because there is a sudden change in voltage from 1 volt to 5 volt, there is a high frequency component. The capacitors will charge to some different voltage based on the VC equivalent. So the capacitors are seeing 5 minus 1 volt. 1 volt is the initial voltage. The C equivalent is seeing 4 volt. That's why we need to use this formula and write this one. So for this one, I have simulated the same circuit. We can see here same circuit. Here I am using 1 micro, 3 micro, 1k and 1k. If you see at t equal to 0, the voltage rising from this is Vin, voltage rising from 1 volt to 5 volt. You can see VC1, which is 1 micro, is charged to some 3.5 volt. In the same way, VC2 is charged to 1.5 volt. Eventually, it will go to this is 2.5 volt. It will go to 2.5 volt.